When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, UN Women approached the Chamber of Women Entrepreneurs and tried to find out, how they were coping with this pandemic. From that initial conversation, an idea came up, and this idea was to launch business clinic for women entrepreneurs. And so a couple of months ago, I had the pleasure to meet some of these women who had gone through the business clinics and who had received support, whether it was financial advice, legal advice, psychosocial support. And I was very honored, but also very overwhelmed by their testimonies. What they shared with us that day is the reason we are here today. They mentioned the big difference that being in those business clinics had made for them in their lives and in their ability to sustain their businesses, and in some cases even expand those businesses. So for all of you who made it here today, I'm keeping my promise. I told you that day that we will make sure to convene and we will make sure to bring into a room the actors, the decision makers, so that we can have a conversation. So thank you all for being here. May our dialogue today be enlightening. May the Gender Café remain a space for candid conversations, for influence, for action, for friendship, and for partnership.
As COVID hit, most of these supported cooperatives or small companies that leased, those who actually tried to get into manufacturing or even to boost the made in Rwanda, as they put it. Most of these companies had started paying back the leasing loan. If you compare with what the panel told us about equity, business plan, majority of them are people who don't have that kind of expertise. So I was wondering, how can people with such potential of revamping their companies, putting them on track and solving the problem of the demand in the country, be helped to get back on track?
In terms of access to economic recovery fund by a specific group like women and youth, around 52% of our economic reform is actually accessed by women. That we are having another phase of economic recovery fund, where we are going to revamp our credit guarantee scheme by injecting 30 billion Rwandan franc on a 5-year period. And I think this will be triggering access to loan from financial institution, but also there is a big component in it to continue supporting businesses affected by COVID-19, but also the facility to cover businesses affected by any external shock.
Providing access to finance to SMEs. 2 years down the road, we realized that we were totally failing. And we realized that the problem was not the SMEs, the problem was us. We were trying to impose and to provide solutions that we think that they are right for the entrepreneurs. So we realized quite early, at the early stage, that in fact the issue is not access to finance, and the real issue was expertise.
There's a work that needs to be done to identify those people who have, been leasing machines or equipment and now needs working capital for them to be able to get back on track. Because the machines are there, but they haven't been working for a year or two because of COVID. So I think before we do all that, we need to start identifying who are all those people who are doing okay pre-COVID and are struggling now, yet they have the capacity, they have the willingness to come back to business. I think this conversation needs to happen, and we need maybe the convening power of some of you, so we sit together and we try to address this question.
The biggest challenge to entrepreneurship and growth of SME business, I believe, are two. One, it's expertise. The other is patient long-term capital. Now, that's what fund structures are able to deploy. They're able to give management expertise, which is equally needed, but most importantly, they're able to deploy long-term patient capital as an alternative, as a support structure to the funding that you're able to source through family and friends and through debt facilitators. How do we work together as different actors with different mandates to say now there are these opportunities to promote these funds that are now here, but also to promote for those who need that funding to be able to point them the way. So if you are saying I have a business that is ready, that is bankable, then please let's talk. We can guarantee you that there are different forms of funding that is available to support the different needs.
We have worked together to develop a platform which is a Buy From Women e-commerce platform in response to the difficulties that women have faced. We work with women at different levels from across the country, and this e-commerce platform will be unique because indeed we are not just going to do it or use it as a route to respond to access to market and allow women to collaborate not only within Rwanda but across its borders, and for them to learn of other opportunities.
As the Chamber of Women Entrepreneurs, we have the mandate to empower women entrepreneurs, providing them with capacity building programs. They are willing to learn, they are willing to get the expertise, but what next? That was the question up today. We are ready to work together. Once those projects we bring are not on the level that is required. There are different associations empowering women, but let us work together.
Where is the money for gender equality? The presence of these women entrepreneurs is important because of the many challenges that women continue to face when it comes to accessing finance, when it comes to accessing technical skills, to leverage the opportunities that are embedded in the AfCFTA. Is that the AfCFTA has the potential to make a concrete impact on the lives of ordinary citizens across the continent, on job creation, poverty reduction, and making our businesses much more competitive, especially the SMEs.
AfCFTA is only going to work if free movement of trade and people is real, right? Africa, 80% of Africa's need in terms of food items come from abroad. Only 20% is sourced from here. And for the pharmaceutical, these figures go to 94%. 94% of African needs in pharmaceutical products come from abroad.
We usually do a lot of trade finance for companies that import, but very little for companies that export. And the AfCFTA is a lot about us, increasing our production capacities for us to be able to export. And we also take part of that payment infrastructure to enable our clients to get payments from everywhere in the world. And I think this is also very critical. If we want to have a single market, we need to be able to get payments across borders.
As we talk about this Africa continental free trade area, we need to first ask, what are the impediments? What environment do we put in place to ensure that now these activities, these transactions, the trade happens?
If I have one word to say to conclude, is to be continued, not only now, but in the future. If you have more dialogue between ourselves, I'm sure we can get there to have the common understanding and move forward the remarkable development trajectory of this country. We have the potential. The issue is how we transform it into action.